arise and be doing, not just contemplating, doing something about what you are contemplating. So far as the month of December brought us mystery and the magic of Christmas, of fun and fellowship, so does January bring to us this cold, stark reality of unpaid bills, broken budgets, inventory, and income tax forms. These things are forthcoming. But we smile and arise and be doing in an attempt to set the accounts straight, mentally planning to avoid the repetition of such concerns next year. We cannot avoid them, try as we might. They must be dealt with here and now. Even as we begin, we plan and calculate and dream of the future. So it was in this passage of Scripture. Preparation. This is the house of the Lord. But not one stone of it was yet placed in position. King David had a vision. The future was seen as realized. Courage of that high order is likely sooner or later to fashion or cause to fashion so that the dream becomes a reality. Martin Luther King had a vision that black and white would live together one day in peace with equality for all. Black and white brothers and sisters together as one. You and I have such visions in which love is the ruling force in this old world of ours. Human dignity and compassion, honesty and understanding hold sway in the marketplace and in the parliaments of the nations of the world. King David also had a vision, as did the great prophets, to be able to see beyond the present, darkened chaos, confusion, and Jesus himself saw fulfillment beyond the suffering and death upon the cross. But David prepared not only in abundance, but in detail. No other way of preparation is effective. First, there is the vision, the meticulous care and toil. The vision remains empty without substance, without adequate preparation. We have often heard of plans being followed into construction of a building to discover that the staircase that they put in there didn't go anywhere. Or that they have put the building together and somehow have misplaced the plumbing. These things do not make for good buildings, in more ways than one. Every item, every thought has to be materialized into position, into place, and then into action by the constructors. And so we should be warned then that the danger of signals can be as serious as keeping our fingers away from a hot stove, or do not play with matches. So the warnings that we read, though somewhat comical, do make a little bit of sense. A prescription for a box of sleeping pills contained the warning, may cause drowsiness. Warning on a household iron. Never iron the clothes while they are being worn. A can of self-defense pepper spray warns, may irritate the eyes. This warning appears on the body stroller, baby stroller. Remove child before folding. These appear to be ridiculous warnings, but with so many people ready to sue at the drop of a hat, the warnings don't really seem to be too stupid after all. It's interesting to note that father and son in this particular instance cooperated. It is written that David, conscious of Solomon's immaturity, was also confident of his future strength and believed that he would be free from the incessant wars that David himself had been involved with and would prosper exceedingly, for this is what God had foretold. And it was to the purpose of God that this temple be built by Solomon. And so David did not simply sit back and say, well, he can do it when he gets around to it. But he made the plans, just like folk when they are working in gardens and the like. They plant a tree or plant a seedling. They may never see the fruit of their labor, but the next generation will be able to gather apples from that apple tree because the person a generation ago had the foresight to plant the seedling. I will therefore make preparations for it. Sadly, in this day and age, there is a tendency for us to forget others who may have helped us to develop our dreams and make them into realities. We're always indebted to someone. The trees planted by a grandfather and enjoyed by his son and grandson, a seedling maturing into a forest giant, a grandmother taking the time to show her daughter and granddaughter the intricacies of home crafts. Last night, my wife told me about the fact that some people, when they died, had the body cremated, and the cremated ashes were put into an urn, and in that urn there was a seed, and the seed was that of a tree. And they would take the urn and plant the seed with the ashes in the ground, and the person would live again as a tree. I'll leave you to consider the possibilities there. This was on Facebook, so you can imagine anything could happen. Anyway, but she read that out to me last night. What's next, hey? So we find that Donald Trump might have been rather happy if he had read this portion of Scripture, because the aliens were brought in to carve the stones and get the stonework done for the temple. Aliens, those that were not of Jewish descent, those who were not accepted by their society. But the thing of it was that they forget one thing, that God uses everybody for his own purposes. And apparently these two were involved in the building of that great temple. A military officer who was of high rank has been discovered working side by side with his men, where a lesser man would simply stand from the side and let them do the work alone. There is dignity in honest work, whether it is designing buildings or hauling cement in a wheelbarrow, emptying bed pans in a hospital, performing delicate surgery. God needs you, God needs me. He needs each of us to proclaim and carry out his teachings. And so we have gathered today to participate in the sacrament of Holy Communion, so that when we come confessing our sinfulness. We come because we are in love and charity with our neighbors, and we come because we intend to lead a new life, turning over a new leaf, if you will, and looking at the tomorrows as brand new days for the rest of the lives that God has given to each and every one of us. This is why we come, because we must be up and doing the work of our Lord God. I would ask then that we sing the first 3 verses of 459 as we prepare the table for the elements, and then ask you to follow the order of service in the insert in your bulletin.